For over 50,000 years, people on these lands have cast their gaze upon the stars and planets above, ascribing stories and mythologies onto them. We still do this today, only now our stories are of noble, metallic emissaries voyaging to unseen lands, crafted by human hands and bestowed with life and spirit, and sent on their way. And yet, despite these hundreds of generations of stargazers and storytellers, Australia has barely ventured out into the cosmos. For almost the entire back half of the 20th century, Australia contributed significantly to America's space efforts, hosting enormous radio dishes, allowing satellites to be communicated with at any position in the solar system in tandem with the rest of the deep space network. Australians have flown into space several times, and thanks to a leftover rocket from America, even became the third country to launch one of its own satellites from its own territory. But despite these early achievements and contributions, Australia has lagged behind in spaceflight consistently, having less than 80 satellites ever, across all domestic institutions and companies, and not a single one of these has gone to the moon. Australians work in aerospace facilities all across the world, building rockets for other countries and private companies. So why aren't they working here? With over 10,000 satellites in orbit, how come only 0.5% are Aussie? It's not just due to the lack of a national space agency until a few years ago. After all, almost all Aussie satellites that have launched have been university-based. Rather, it's due to a lack of integration and involvement from the younger generations. Millennials and Gen Z have lived through what is effectively a space exploration drought. Planetary science and crewed spaceflight have continued, but at a much slower rate than before. Baby boomers were there for the early stuff. Sputnik, Apollo 11, the first explorations, the Voyagers and the Pioneers. Gen X was there to witness the first flights of the space shuttle, the first space stations, and grew up witnessing every artist's illustration of a planet become a real photo. Millennials at least got to view the construction of the International Space Station, but following a brief rise in the 90s, NASA's budget, the main driver of space exploration, fully stagnated. They still have effectively the same budget as they did in the 90s in the present day. And Gen Z got the worst end of it. We've barely seen anything. We've gotten Cassini arriving at Saturn, but that was before our time. We only ever got the results. We got New Horizons at Pluto, a few asteroids barely publicized, and the first image of a black hole. There have been less massive events to draw the interest of the developing generations, leading to a general neglect of young people in the field. In a nationwide study, 55% of Australians think it is important to invest in space, even if there's no immediate benefit. Exploration for the sake of it. And even with that number, 20% don't even know that Australia has a space agency. The lack of involvement does not stop there, though. It extends to another group. I, like many of you, am autistic. Over 7% of Australians have either ADHD or autism or some other type of neurodivergency. That's almost 2 million people. Half of them have never held a paying job. 45% of those who are employed have credentials higher than those of the job that they're in. And 20% who were employed have lost their jobs due to their neurodivergency. And people like me with autism, ADHD, and other neurodivergencies have learned to get good at the sorts of skills that aerospace needs. The world is very much designed for neurotypical brains. And as such, we've had to develop critical thinking to navigate and just survive the world. And space physics is defined by logic, critical thinking. I personally have experience with this, having had the privilege of participating in programs that allowed me to showcase my passion and my skill set in this area. I was obsessed with it. I was designing a new mission every week, eating up almost all of my spare time. Unique ideas like a self-assembling telescope, atmospheric divers into Jupiter, and in the culmination of the entire challenge, a mission to a distant asteroid beyond Neptune. I spent 2 weeks straight developing the mission, looking through dozens of papers for numbers and metrics, communicating with industry professionals with genuine experience on outer solar system missions, and trajectory calculation experts. Day to night, it was all that I worked on. That dedication, that wholehearted and earnest participation helped my team to win the challenge, and because of that, it propelled my learning and interest forwards. I got to have a hands-on experience with and contribute to experiments for the ISS and see how observatories are controlled and operated. This challenge, while not the start of my special interest in space, helped transform that into tangible enthusiasm and build a pathway to eventually working in the industry. That's the key to boosting spaceflight and involving the younger generations. Hyperfixation and special interests are powerful. For those of you who don't know what this is, I don't blame you. It's a very special experience for neurodivergent people, especially those with ADHD and autism. We can go through phases of hyperfixation, focusing on it more than anything in these periods. They can last weeks or years. Special interests are even stronger than this, though. It's something you dedicate your entire life to. It's effectively the love of a topic. It's all you can think about and focus on. Everything revolves around it. Greta Thunberg said in an interview that a lot of people with autism have a special interest that they can sit and do for an eternity without getting bored. It's a very useful thing sometimes. You feel you have a purpose, then it can be something you can use for good. And out of those 2 million people in Australia who are neurodivergent, it is almost certain, given how prevalent space is as a theme for young children, that there are tens of thousands of them who might be interested in space and would be dedicated to pursuing a career, yet are dissuaded or kicked out or overlooked due to their neurodivergencies. Not every community has a challenge to help involve willing parties or the slots to accommodate it. Something that can be done is a true national outreach program. Competitions can be enjoyable for some and are especially good at finding rising talent in STEM fields. National Space Agency-run competitions can be held at a regular basis, with rewards given to the top participants such as special tours, scholarships, or simply getting to view some of the actual work that they're doing. Even potentially industry experience if they're old enough. More funding could also be given to neurodiverse accommodations, allowing us to work in the industry, participate, and contribute beyond what we're allowed to currently. These STEM-focused outreach and involvement programs can serve to find and motivate future leaders of the field, massively benefiting the entire nation. At the current rate, Gen Z students are disadvantaged in the aerospace industry, and something like this could benefit the entire world. This would make up for the lack of involvement at the beginning and bypass such an issue arising for Gen Alpha, Beta, and future generations. Hyperfixating on spacecraft can lead to incredible results, dealing with any roadblock in the way. The constant thinking and desire to see the project through of a neurodiverse mind can lead a team through the darkest of times and get results faster than a fully neurotypical team. This is the way forwards. Seeing spaceflight through the lens of neurodiversity can allow for discoveries and contributions that we haven't seen before. People on these lands have been looking at the stars for tens of thousands of years. And now, we can be among the stars. Thank you.